What do you think the, the level of understanding of the students is, and younger people coming on the scene? I mean, I would like to think that after we had maybe a generation or two mixed in that were more conservative, we certainly have a higher level of consciousness around environmental issues. I remember, I was a number of years ago, but I was in probably in Watsonville, California, or Castroville. I was traveling through, and we were eating in an outdoor place, and I think I dropped a piece of paper or something dropped on the ground, and this little girl came over and picked it up, and she said, "Oh, this goes in the garbage." And I was just really impressed with the awareness that was starting to seep into the younger people. And I wonder what you think that's like at Loyola. Do you think that there's a real receptiveness from the students for environmental questions? I know there was a little conference over there that I talked to briefly, and there was maybe 50 people in the student union listening, and that was a good sign. But I'm just wondering where you think students in general are today on these issues.
Well, I would say Loyola is better than most, but I don't think you see that activism that you saw in the 60s and 70s that you and I are probably familiar with. We do have a number of very active student organizations. What was interesting was we looked at how many of our students, our graduates, have had some sort of formal coursework in the environment. They've taken at least one course that had environmental content. And it turns out that about 95% of our students have had at least one course that talks about the environment. Now, it might have been an environmental economics course or an ethics course, but at least 95% have had one course. And on average, most of our students have had three or more courses that deal with environmental issues. So that was the good news. The bad news of that was that although 90% or more could identify climate change as being, say, the most pressing issue facing our country, only 40% felt that they had enough knowledge to make an informed decision. So that tells us that although we're getting messages out there, we're not getting the complete message out. And that's one of the things that we want to work on, is through either formal coursework or informal opportunities such as seminars, speakers, student groups, to try to provide more information to our graduates about what they can do to make a difference.
When you were talking, Marshall, you mentioned students had taken some courses in environmental issues. What actually would be environmental economics? And what that just caught my attention. Environmental economics. Tell us about that.
Well, in this broader concept of sustainability, we talk about balancing our economic needs, our societal needs, as well as our environmental needs. And what has emerged is this branch of economics that deals with sustainability, broader issues of sustainability, and how that affects the business world, the commercial world, not-for-profits, as well as your own pocketbook. And so we have been offering a course in that. Our business school offers a course in environmental economics. So that would be one. We also have a course in ethics that deals with ethical behavior and ethical considerations, social justice or environmental justice issues. So besides the more traditional science courses, we're looking at those other two domains and trying to engage students in those. One of the most interesting things that we're doing is what we call our Solutions to Environmental Problems course. This is the one that created our biodiesel lab, where we actually take waste oil and produce diesel fuel. But the idea behind this was that it wasn't just science students. We brought students from our School of Communications, from our business college, from biology, from chemistry, from education. We brought them all together and said, here's a problem. Here are your resources. See if you can come up with a solution. So this course is student-driven. And it was interesting to see a business plan was produced by a group of students with a faculty member, a mentor. We had other faculty mentors who dealt with the issue of the waste products from biodiesel, and so now we're going to be producing our own soap. from the glycerin that's one of the byproducts. So not only are we getting diesel fuel that we'll be using in our campus shuttle buses, but we're also getting a soap product which we're thinking we're going to distribute to all incoming freshmen as kind of a welcome gift. It still smells a little bit like French
I was
fries.
wondering if you were going to scent it with some other
Yeah, it's still
perfume-like substance.
they're still refining the recipe. But the solutions here, this whole course was based upon bringing students from different disciplines together to work on a problem. They did an educational video or an informational video production showing the process. They did air pollution testing to see that the diesel fuel actually did reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So these small groups of students working as a whole brought that about. And the new group is now focusing on food systems, and they'll be looking at urban food production.
Well, this sounds really good, but I'm wondering, do you, as someone who's the Director of Environmental Sustainability and kind of overseeing all these interconnected programs that are going on at Loyola, do you see any contradictions or any places that we're not going quite far enough? And I use the city as an example here. We have a mayor who's touted as a green mayor. He has there's a rooftop garden on City Hall. We do have a lot of trees being planted. We promote bicycles, but yet we have a outdated, archaic recycling program, really non-existent. So we revel in contradictions always, and we look forward to going forward. I wonder at Loyola, if you could give us a candid, opinion on, what you're trying to do and where you see it not going far enough or where you see obstacles to going along with that. Do you have the cafeteria? Are they doing a lot of composting yet? Are we growing food yet in a real way? Are we getting enough biodiesel? Are we using it all? You got the idea.
Yeah. Well, let's start with something like the cafeteria. One of the problems you face as a small urban institution, small meaning our physical footprint, is we don't have a place to do composting, at least not composting in the traditional sense. So that poses a potential problem for us. We're still going to have to haul our waste off, and we're going to have to rely on somebody else to do that unless we can come up with a more creative solution, such as anaerobic composting, which has the benefit of generating energy as well as a compostable material. But then we're still faced with the question of what do we do with all this compost? We generate around 12 tons of food waste each week from our dining halls. And wow. even in the composted form, the sludge, we're still going to be having to deal with disposing of 10 tons of sludge. I think we would rapidly overwhelm the capacity of Rogers Park and Edgewater to use all that compost on all the gardens in the neighborhood as well.
All these roofs, all these flat roofs.
All these flat roofs. So we still have to address those issues. But one of the things that we did was we said, look, it's also important that we reduce the amount of food waste. It'd be ideal to be at a zero waste situation. But even in World War II, with rationing and all kinds of drives to eliminate waste, college students wasted about 1/3 of a pound of food each day. Currently at Loyola, or I shouldn't say currently, before we went with trayless dining, we were wasting about 2/3 of a pound of food each day for each student. We did these plate waste studies. We looked at the waste from over 5,000 plates to come up with these numbers. The upshot was we negotiated with Aramark and worked with Aramark. We're eliminating our trays in our cafeterias because one of the things that the research pointed to was that without trays, people take less food and waste less. So we've implemented that. Now both of our main dining halls are trayless, and we're doing a follow-up study to see if it indeed results in reduced plate waste. The preliminary results are in, and it looks favorable. It looks like we've gone from around 2/3 of a pound per student per day to something a little less than 1/2 a pound per student per day. Our goal is to get to that historic number of 1/3 of a pound. We figure zero just isn't going to happen, but here's a real target, which is to get back to the level that people wasted food during World War II.
I like this. I like the trayless concept. Having teenage sons, I'll see them pile their plates high with food and, just eat parts of it and leave it. So, I'm cleaning up the leftovers a lot in my old age.